second chapter, and the previous Mishnah was from Rabbi Tarfon, and this Mishnah is also Rabbi Tarfon continuing along the sort of the same lines that he was speaking about previously. His previous Mishnah, he told us that it was a short day, the work was a lot, and so there's a lot that's expected of us. Life in this world is limited, and there's a lot of challenges that we face in life. Besides our natural, we'll call it laziness, but this a person's natural, let's say, reluctance to do certain things, and on the other hand, the reward is great. V'hasachar harbe, and Hashem, who's the master, he's pushing us to do it. So now he continues, and he says, "Hu haya omer." There's the Mishnah speaking. He used to say, and this is a Rabbi Tarfon, "Lo alecha hamalacha ligmor." Famous expression. It is not upon you. It is not your responsibility to finish the work. That's not your responsibility. V'lo ata ben chorin libatel mimenu. You're also not free that you could just say, "I'm not going to do anything." You're not free to just ignore it. Those go together. We're just going to read the rest. I'm not sure we're going to finish this today. Im lamadta Torah harbe. If you've learned a lot of Torah, nosnim lecha sachar harbe. You're given a lot of reward. V'ne'emanhu v'al malachtecha, and the boss, so to speak, Hashem, is trustworthy and faithful. Sheyeshalem lecha sachar pulasecha, to pay you the wages of your work. V'da, and you should also know matan scharan shel tzadikim la'asur lavo. The real reward for the righteous is in the world to come, not in this world. Let's just go back to the first part. Lo alecha hamlacha lagmar. What it says, it's not your responsibility to finish the job. One of the especially unique things with regard to Torah, and for the most part, this is talking about Torah study, not so much general observance, although to some degree it refers to observance as well. But our job is not to get it done. Our job is to do. There's a famous expression, I think it was maybe the Chafetz Chaim, or I'm not sure who said it, but it was in Yiddish, as medafton nicht oftan, which means our job is to do, not necessarily to produce the results. Hashem is not asking us to finish the whole Torah. He doesn't, it's impossible. It's impossible for someone to study everything, and especially as we've, if you say, okay, I could read all the 5 books of the Torah, but you can also understand it with all the commentary. And if you're going to be able to do the Talmud and with all the commentary and the Mishnah, et cetera, all the halachic works, it's impossible to do every single thing and catch and certainly all the depth. But someone may say, well, if I don't have to finish it, so I don't have to start it either. So he said, no, that you can't do either. You can't just say, I'm not going to do. And one of the rationales that someone might have is, well, if you're going to reward me for something, so I have a choice. I can do it and get rewarded, or I can not do it and not get rewarded, right? In general life, we have choices. If we don't want to work, we could say, I don't want to work and I won't get paid. So, okay, that's fine. That's your choice. But that doesn't work that way with the Torah. It's not an option to say, well, just don't give me the reward, and that way, and then I don't have to do it. No, we have an obligation to do it. Hashem is the master. We're God's servants, and it's an obligation upon us. And but at the same time, is not an expectation to to accomplish everything. But you are obligated to do as much as you can. And one of the other factors that might happen is a person may say, oh, it's so impossible. Since I can't, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it all. So a lot of times the rationale people have is, if I can't do it all, I might as well not even begin. Right? If I'm not going to get to the end, why bother starting? So it's no, there's a reward just for whatever you do. You're getting rewarded for the effort. That's the goal. The goal is to put in the effort. We were talking about exercise before. It's a little similar in that sense also, right? If a person says, well, I'm never going to be able to run the marathon, so I may as well not bother. I'm not going to be able to bench press, 200 pounds, so why bother? So the answer is that that's not necessarily the goal. The goal is the process of getting there and all the exercise in how to get there, and that you've accomplished. So even if you don't able to achieve that final amount, but you've accomplished a lot, and you will improve your health with all of the steps in between. And so too with our spiritual health, the idea of the Torah study and everything we get from it, and Hashem's mitzvah is to do so, that it is the study itself that is going to be rewarded and the effort that you put in. The other part is that even with that, there still is a certain amount of difference between those who are able to learn more and not. And then there's a little bit of a debate as to, is it someone who puts in, two people put the same amount of effort. So we know we're not all created equal, believe it or not. We don't all have the same mental capacity. We don't. Some people were born there; they have a greater capacity for whether it be for depth, whether it be for memory, than others. And you can improve what you have, but still there's a certain limitation. Some people are geniuses, and others are not. And you might say, well, if they both put the same effort in, so what happens? Do they get the same reward or not? So that it's not so clear. Some say that the more you do, you still get rewarded more. Others say no, it's totally based on the effort. What is for sure is that the person who is the genius and only puts in a little bit, and the person who is not the genius and works very hard, even if they end up with the same amount of knowledge, the person who put in the greater effort is definitely going to get rewarded much more than the person who didn't. And that's for sure. You are given your capabilities, and your goal is to achieve as much as you can with your capabilities. And if you're not using them, then you haven't done your job. And therefore, in terms of the reward is, again, totally for the effort. Some people's efforts will produce greater results than others just because of what they were given to start with. The other point, and that's such a huge issue about putting in the effort, and also when we talk about coming to that final result, again, if you don't see that you're going to be able to get to the end, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't start. You will be surprised that if you do baby steps, eventually you look back and you see how far you've come, and you realize that you are able to go much further than you thought you can. There's a Gemara that brings down also the same idea. It's Gemara in Brachos that brings down a story that Rabbi Yochanan saw Rabbi Elazar was crying. He was sick and he was crying. And so Rabbi Yochanan said, why are you crying? He says, if you haven't learned as much as you wanted to, so as long as we are told, as long as you are intending for the sake of heaven, you will get rewarded. There's a phrase, echad hamarbe ve'echad hamamit. Both the one who does more, the one who accomplishes more, accomplishes less. As long as your kavanah, as long as your intention was for the sake of heaven, if that's what you're putting into your efforts, then you've done your job. And then one other point before we finish today is the terms of the reward, that Hashem is guaranteed to reward you. That his bank account, he doesn't have to worry about it being overdrawn, right? If you have a regular employer, you may be concerned that he doesn't have enough money to pay you, but you don't have that problem with Hashem. So therefore, he is guaranteed to pay you. And we'll leave the last part of the Mishnah for tomorrow, discussing this reward in this world, next world, etc. We'll hold it there. Everyone have a great day.